Daddy, there's monsters in the house.
Okay, I'm gonna check it out.
The FBI has some questions for you.
You ever seen this man? His name is Luke Devereaux. His prints were all over the crime scene.
We live among them like ghosts, biding our time. You're mine, so now you're own.
To paraphrase the great Corey Coleman, Universal Soldier Boy.
Is that what the sequel title is? Yeah. Besides Universal Soldier, who the fuck is paying attention anymore? Yeah.
No, Coach, you understand. This is the one that's going to save the franchise.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, because Expendables just came out. You know, these guys are back on top of their A game.
No.
You know, people care again. They remember they're still alive. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. And Brian, good old Brian Salisbury, who's back with us again.
Hey, Brian!
Who not only saw this movie, spoke with the director, interviewed him and everything. He is a Universal Soldier expert, and he can tell you exactly how this one picks up from the third Universal.
But I have a question for him though. Why?
Did you actually put that on your resume?
Do we really need to go into how many bad movies I love and like seriously? If it sucks, I probably adore it. Let's just put it that way. No, it's interesting because there were 2 Universal Soldier movies after like the official sequel, but they were like direct, like made for TV, and they've been like completely abandoned. Like even this one, they're like, this is the 4th official Universal Soldier movie, and I'm like, well, it's technically the 6th, but I guess we'll just ignore those 2.
They weren't canon.
No. But the last one, Universal Soldier Regeneration, kind of picked up from where the first one left off. Like they literally go back and find Jean-Claude Van Damme's character, Luke Devereaux, and he's still, you know, on that farm, and they have to bring him back because someone has found a way to reanimate Andrew, who's the character played by Dolph Lundgren. So it's basically like them going at each other again. And I actually really dug Regeneration. I thought, if, you know, for a low-budget film, for resurrecting... It's funny, you have a story that's based on them bringing back to life soldiers, and then they keep having to bring back to life this franchise. It's like, are they using the same technology to bring interest back into these movies?
Too bad they couldn't bring back the actual careers of these guys.
I wonder when that's going to work.
It's a metaphor.
I actually like Regeneration a lot better than the first Expendables because it was very low key, and it was all about the brutality of, you know, these guys fighting each other. It wasn't like they didn't have a huge CG budget to kind of hide behind, and I was really looking forward to Day of Reckoning because of how much I liked Regeneration. Unfortunately, that low budget thing that was going on with Regeneration, it's like somebody went, oh, I think we gave you too much money, so here's even less. Oh, and you have to film it in 3D.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. I forgot it was 3D.
The most non-3D movie I've ever seen in my life. I was like, are they fucking with us, making us wear these glasses? I mean, really?
Yeah, no, I kept taking my glasses off in it, and it looked exactly the same.
And the other reason I was excited for this is because Scott Adkins from Undisputed 3 and Ninja, like all these really cool action movies that have come out lately, is in the film. He's in Expendables 2, actually. He's like Jean-Claude Van Damme's henchman. And he's really awesome. And I was like, yeah, this is going to be like centering on him, and then the other guys are going to be supporting him. And I was, yeah, it just didn't come together.
I'm just throwing this out there, but maybe you went into a Universal Soldier film with too high expectations.
It's possible.
It's funny how expectations even creeps into that sentence. But I'm glad you at least, you know, being honest, because if I wanted to hear from anyone what they thought about Universal Soldier, I probably wouldn't be in the room, but to ask that question. But you know, if I were, I want to ask you because I know that you're a big fan of the last one before, because you talked about it so much to me that you made me actually want to go see it.
Awesome.
Sorry, I haven't done that yet, but I will get to it.
Now, it's been a while since I saw it. Can anybody tell me what this movie? Actually, if you'd have asked me as soon as I came out of it, I could have told you what it was about.
Please tell us the plot. Brian.
Of Day of Reckoning?
Yes, of Day of Reckoning. The movie we're reviewing. Do it. Now, do it.
That's a good question.
Look, it's the Wikipedia page.
So
read it.
It starts on Scott Adkins' character being like brutally attacked in his home, and his wife and his daughter are murdered, and what's happening is that all of these old Unisols are like kind of breaking away from their programming and starting their own cult.
You will be freed. You will serve him. From this moment on, You're no longer a slave to the government. From this moment on, your mind is your own.
And they have started like attacking and murdering all these people across the country, and they're like living in an underground bunker. And Scott Adkins is convinced that they are connected to, you know, his. Well, he sees Devereaux, so he knows they're connected to his wife and daughter's murder. So it's basically about him digging deeper into the program and figuring out what's going on and trying to get revenge.
Okay. And these guys are like orcs, and in that they just kind of like they're aggro all the time to the point that they have their own fight club within the barracks, killing each other when they don't have anybody else to kill. It's like, guys, seriously, you don't know how to reserve your resources?
Leon, the correct term is unisols. All right, just to let you know.
Sorry,
yeah.
Unisols.
It's not a douche
Hey,
product.
the terminology exists, guys. I didn't make it up. I promise. I make up stuff a lot, but I didn't make that up.
No, but I mean, it once again, like the first one, kind of felt when I saw the first Universal Soldier, I was like, wow, this really is a poor man's Terminator. And with this, it felt the same. You know, it felt like I was hanging out with Kyle Reese and his
John
girlfriend.
Connor?
Sarah Connor.
Yeah,
Kyle Reese and Sarah Connor. But yeah, I mean, just watching these guys like drive around, you know, getting into these Terminator fights every once in a while, trying to escape yet trying to solve this mystery. But it was so, you know, it was so just boring the entire way until like the last part of the movie where they actually got into something, you know, where you're actually introduced to Jean-Claude Van Damme and Dolph Lundgren, where those guys are kind of like sprinkled in the entire movie. I didn't understand. I'm like, okay, if you guys didn't have time to make the movie, wait until you actually have time to be in the whole goddamn movie instead of being just peppered in every once in a while.
Well, Coach, you said boring, but you missed all the parts with Scott Adkins running around with the fake French actress. And car chases. And
who's the fake French actress? Maria Bonner?
Yeah.
So she has a French accent, but she's not French?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And she's awful.
Maybe she is from Belgium.
Yeah, it's
Maybe that is why you're confused.
She was at Fantastic Fest.
I'm surprised Marion Cotillard wasn't interested.
She would have been at least more memorable because I can't remember a single thing about her character or why she was important to the story.
All I can remember her was her at Fantastic Fest where she wore a dress where you could see her nipples poke through it.
Oh, god damn it, how come you didn't tell me?
How could you
miss it?
The problem here, the biggest problem with the movie is how small scale it is and how cheap it looks. And I really do suspect that the whole shooting it in 3D, one, was not the director's idea.
Yeah.
And two, is the reason that most of the settings are like empty model homes.
Yeah.
And like hotel rooms they could get on the cheap. Like the biggest set piece is a fallout shelter, for fuck's sake.
Right.
Like that's the most exotic locale we get. Usually it's people's backyards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, you're right. It looked cheaper than cheap, like a homemade movie that just happened to get Jean-Claude Van Damme. It's an interesting thing about Jean-Claude Van Damme because in this and Expendables 2, when he first comes on the screen and you see him, you go like, man, that guy's in great shape. He looks like he hasn't aged a day until he takes his sunglasses off, and you go like, holy shit!
Oh,
that's where all the cocaine went.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I tell you, I was watching this movie, and they talk with such importance about, you remember this and all these things. Well, I was like, shit, I guess I really need to see the last movie to know what's going on. And then I asked Brian about it. He's like, no, none of that ties into anything else.
It really doesn't. Yeah, like there's the one carryover from the last one to this one is Andre the Pitbull Arlovsky, who's an MMA fighter who turns up in the last one. And this one, in this one, he kind of looks like AJ Bowen with an axe. Like he's just got this ridiculous beard that doesn't work on him, and kind of makes him, he's hiding out as a plumber. And I'm like, okay, you're an MMA fighter, and I shouldn't be able to buy that you're a plumber, but they've got you dressed down and looking so like scraggly. Like, yeah, you could be a plumber. I guess.
I know, and that's the other thing. I was like, they couldn't get the T1000. They got the T plumber running around chasing these guys.
He bends his own pipes.
But like you said, I mean, the one thing I noticed that I know
TRS-80 is what
the one thing I know about these Universal Soldier movies is that it's usually Jean-Claude Van Damme who's playing the hero. That's the one thing I've always come to know about these films.
So is he not?
So it's a big.
No.
but they completely change his character
Yeah.
to he's a villain. He's a full on villain. He might as well be playing the same villain that he was in the last Expendables.
Wait,
movie.
he wasn't? Because I could have swore it was the same character.
I mean, it was.
It was
really
the zombie version of that character from if after they killed the character in Expendables 2, they brought him back as a Universal Soldier.
And there's parts at the end of the movie where it seems like the director gave him too much freedom to come up with his own ideas of being crazy,
Right.
Because it starts to become comical, and you just parts like that just took me out of the movie. Yet I was like, okay, anybody walking into this for the first time, especially if it's getting a theatrical run, they're going to go, oh yeah, the first Universal Soldier movie, I liked it. I'll go check it out. And they see this, they're going to be completely just baffled by what was the decision making and making Jean-Claude Van Damme their hero of this franchise into this ultimate bad guy who's hardly in the movie.
And it's funny because one of the things I really like about the original Universal Soldier is that it's got an interesting concept, and then you have this really severe conflict between Van Damme and Dolph Lundgren that carries the movie. The thing I really don't like about the original is that for no reason at all, it's a 4-act movie. It keeps going past its own ending. And I understand that it's like, well, we got to wrap up this character. It's like, well, you could have done that at the end of Act 3 instead of Act 4. But with this movie, it's so slight that when it was over, I was like, oh, is that it? It's like I had the opposite reaction to this that I did watching the original Universal Soldier.
It was poorly executed, especially for, you throw in Universal Soldier in the title. You want to see just an all-out, kick-ass brawl. Like, it should be more than what Expendables was. You want to see these two guys who are indestructible, beat the living shit out of each other throughout the entire movie. And somehow the director just made this the most boring, just boring, banal, just meandering Universal Soldier movie I could ever imagine. Like, it's kind of embarrassing.
How
it
do
just
you
got
make
made.
a boring Universal Soldier movie?
It's called Universal fucking Soldier.
Maybe I gotta give him credit for that.
I was going to say, I thought it was the opposite question. How do you not make a boring Universal
dare you,
Soldier movie?
Cyrus.
But that's
How dare
me.
you.
That's
I mean,
where
look,
I'm
you
coming.
give somebody the title. I mean, I'm actually shocked that they haven't tried to remake this. I mean, this right here is dying for a remake. I mean, especially now.
Yeah, maybe with somebody else playing the lead Universal
Oh,
Soldier at this
they'd
point.
get Colin Farrell to do it, and nobody would go see it.
That's probably true.
You're right about that.
I will say this about Lundgren. He was bringing it in this movie. Like, he looked better and was in better physical form than he was, one, in either of the Expendables movies, and two, than he was in all of his direct-to-video action movies like Command Performance and Direct Action and all that.
I will give you that. I will give you that. He was having a
agree.
lot of fun with his role in this movie.
And he looked like it wasn't a chore. Like, he looked like he wasn't struggling against his own age. He really just felt spry and like he could still do this. And I was like, oh wow, why weren't you doing that in the Expendables? That would have been nice.
Yeah, I would actually I would have loved to have seen him just be the lead hero. Just watch him be an asshole, like going off and killing people who left the program.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be fun just to see him have fun being a bad guy. That's what he's always my favorite part in all the Expendable movies. Usually,
Yeah, that's true. So Scott Adkins does he have charisma in other stuff he's in? Because in this, I've just found it really hard to want to follow him.
If you watch the Undisputed sequels, he is incredible as Yuri Boyka.
Yeah, he's really good in those.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I really like him in Ninja as well. I think he's somebody who has a lot of charisma, but he's also one of these guys that has worked his whole life to be a martial artist. Yeah. He wasn't, he's been, taking lessons and working on his acting, but like, he started off wanting to be a martial artist and worked his ass off to get that way, and now they're putting him in movies, and I'm like, I respect him. I think he's a decent actor, and I think he has definite potential. But it's hard for me to be like completely critical of his performance because his performance is in the fighting. I mean, that's where he's performing, and I think he does a really good job. And the axe fight in this, I thought, and was really brutal. And the fight in the sporting goods store, which by the way, it's in a sporting goods store, so again, small scale movie, but. Fuck, man. I liked that fight.
That was good. I think that was the only moment in the movie that everyone woke up and they were like, okay, finally, but it's like almost an hour and a half.
Yeah, again, too short.
Yeah, I mean, those moments are fine or would be fine if there was other things to keep your interest going on. But as you sit there for so long, just like, when is this going to be over? Oh, there's something good. And now it's not.
Yeah.
Well, I'm kind of curious now, like, because initially when you were telling me about this ahead of time, Leon, you're like, oh, everybody, even Brian hated it. Now it sounds like there was things that y'all liked about it as well. So I'm kind of curious to hear what y'all's ratings are.
I was supremely disappointed with it. I wouldn't say that I hated it. It was just one of those like, oh, come on, man, like
So what do you give it, Brian?
I would actually give this a rental. I still really believe that John Hyams can do some interesting things with this franchise. And as far as I know, he's going to continue making these movies. So
let him know quick. This isn't what you do.
Right? No, but again,
somebody send a Universal Soldier after him.
Right?
I'm sorry, a Unisol.
A Unisol.
Unisol. Jeez, that's offensive, Leon.
Yeah, sorry.
You're saying that now because you're a Universal poser, but no, I would give it a rental. I think there are things to like about it, but overall, it's really hampered by the 3D. The 3D doesn't look good. And it costs them. Like, for example, my theory is the reason we only see Van Damme and Dolph Lundgren at the beginning and end like bookends is that they couldn't afford to have them more than a day,
right?
Because of the damn 3D. Like, I'm just like, if you know your budget is micro, don't force your filmmakers to use 3D. Or if it was the filmmaker's choice, don't do that. Yeah, it gets a rental from me.
I
have to give some old bullshit. I mean, because really, it was a chore sitting in that theater, just seeing like all the missed opportunities with a movie like this. And I'm still kind of curious about the movie before, just to compare the two, just to see like how the director really just drops the ball on a movie like this in a franchise like this, which obviously he's really into, because he's the only one dying to make these movies. So it just the logic of him just making this the most boring action movie I've seen in a long fucking time just baffles me. But saying that, I mean, there are some minor things about it that I found a little entertaining, but not enough to be at all memorable. It's not until we talk about it that I go, oh, okay, yeah, Dolph Lundgren was having fun, but I'm going to forget about it after we stop recording this review. So
you give the same review you would an interview with Dolph Lundgren where he's had something funny.
Yeah, exactly. I'd rather see that for
he
like 2 hours.
He said, I must break you for the 50th time.
I love that.
If he does, he does. I wish he would say that about this series. Yeah, if it does,
it does.
Well, I spent the whole time ragging on the movie, so I guess I should point out some of the things I liked about it. Okay, I'll give it some old bullshit. I mean, honestly,
comedy.
Cyrus just edited all your good things about it.
Nobody needs
just
to hear
piss
that.
you off.
I honestly wish that there was something I could say like, well, at least there was this, but there really wasn't. I mean, I feel like I was having a good festival, and it was like the one thing out of the whole time where I was like, wow, I didn't enjoy really anything. I mean, the stuff about Lundgren looking good, yes, and the axe fight, yes, but they're just blips. It's almost like it almost made me mad that there was even something there to even like make me open my eyes for. But ultimately, I was just like, wow, I could live my whole life without seeing that. Yeah, it's actually a low some old bullshit. I wasn't angry enough to go fuck you, but whoo, close.
Wow. Tell me a law of diminishing returns, both in terms of art and probably in ticket sales.
Leon could not give a good got Van Damme about this movie.
I don't want to press stop after that.
I'm back, bitches!
Yes, you are.
It's a Unisol.
Can we put him back?
I pass the torch to you for puns, sir.
Hey, that is why I like Lundgren's Punisher, okay?
Well, I wish you guys would burn each other with that damn torch.
I ain't killing. Luke Devereaux did.